So for step 5, the propeller joints, well, you can see that we've got these gears to get. We've got the 850 bearing. There's a thrust washer. And then we have this plastic E1 piece. We've also got our propeller joint itself. And then there's this B3 piece and another 1150 bearing. You'll also notice we have to make 2 of these. So those are all the hardware pieces that we need, all our screws, and this interesting, it's a thicker one. It's a thrust washer. And then, of course, there's our gears and the other parts. So I'll set this up and we'll put this together. So right off the bat, let's work with our propeller joint. And you can see that one side has the opening, one is just your regular end. And you can see that we're going to need to put one of the E-clips right in this one right here. So again, I'm just going to use my finger here, grab the pliers, go to both sides, pull, and there is our E-clip in place. So now you can also see that we need to grab one of our bearings. Now they're showing grease, but again, because I'm using ball bearings, I'm not going to do that. So there we go. There is our ball bearing. And then you can see that we have this piece right here, which has to be popped on. And you can see how that's going to sort of snap into place. Now, based on the shape of this is sort of it's kind of like a cone. So this end needs to be pushed on. So we just push in. Oh, and it snapped into place. That was quite easy. Didn't really make much of a sound. And then that's just going to sit there like that. So that's what that end is going to look like. So now it's a matter of working on the other. Now, this is a bit different. It does show the grease, which I think will do. And you can see that it's shaded out, so they're even showing a bit of grease on there. But what we'll do is obviously this side has a ball bearing. This side doesn't, in a sense, because there are plastic parts on it. So I actually am going to just give it a little bit of grease here. Just like that. And you can see that we're going to take this piece here, this E1, slide that over so it's on that side. You can see that we have a thrust bushing bearing that's going to sit like that, or was it? Yeah, thrust washer that's going to sit there like that. You can see they even wanted a bit of grease on there. So actually, I'll just rub a little bit there. Sit that on there, and same with the other side. Let's just do a little bit here. There we go. And then you can see that we're going to grab our E3 piece. And again, I've got grease on that thrust washer, so I'm not worried about it on that side. You can see that in terms of positioning, that's got to go through like that. It looks like that's as far as it goes. Yes. And then we have one of our 850 metal bearings that's going to go on the other side, just like that. So ultimately, that is what our propeller joint is going to look like. Very cool. Okay, well, just to save time, I'm going to make the other one. No point in going over it again. You see how that's got to look. So I'll go make the other one and quickly come back. So there are both of our propeller joints, both front and rear, complete. So we can move on now to step 6, and we're going to attach the rear propeller joint. So for step 6, attaching the rear propeller joint, well, you can see we're going to grab the finished gearbox that we put together in previous steps, and we're going to grab one of the propeller joints that we built in the last step, and we're going to grab an E3 gear, another thrust washer, another E1 piece, and then this box housing will close it all together. So you can see that we've got 4 of these small tapping screws, we've got 1 thrust washer, and then there is our housing and our other gear and E1 piece. So I'll set this up and we'll put this together. So right off the bat, you can see that they're showing you to grease this all up. So we'll do that. So we'll grease up this end bit here. We'll grease up the shaft coming out of here. Even shows a little bit on the edging. So we'll do that. Just like that. There we go. So with that part greased up, you can see that this, our propeller shaft, notice the way that this is designed in terms of the look, and then in terms of this diagram, it needs to be able to sit inside of there, and inside of there. So you see how that small 850 is going into that piece there. The thrust washer and the plastic piece are actually dividing that up, and then we have the bearing itself off to the side, so it should sit in there like that. And that of course has to go in first because this gear is going on top of that, facing that way. Now I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put it on. So if I get this right, turn it around for the flat spot, just like that. So you see how that's going to sit. So from the side you can see that that's how it's going to turn. So just for ease, I'm going to grease it this way, which I always like to do. It's like you might as well just move the gears at the same time. And that's enough. Just like that. So you can see everything's greased up and moving smooth. I might put a little bit more right there. Move that through. It'll grease everything else. So that's good. Very nice. So once that's done, we've got our thrust washer. And again, the way they were showing it before, it looks like we would grease up both sides. So let's do that. Rub it around, turn it around, rub it around. Put that thrust washer on top of there, just like that. And then we have that E1 piece that's going to sit over top, just like that. And then the last thing, and I'm just going to wipe my hands here, we've got this cover, which essentially is just going to sit over top. And notice the curve. So the curve part is sitting at the top. That's going to sit over top of there, just like that. And then of course we've got the 4 smaller screws that are going to hold this all together. So let's grab one. Now these are very small tapping screws, and this is hard plastic. So being hard plastic, I'm not too worried about anything stripping out, but I am going to go around and just make sure that every screw goes in properly before I tighten any one screw down all the way. Okay, I'm just going to grab the extra handle here on the screwdriver. Now everything seems pretty good, so I'm just going to go around until I get to near the end. And now I think we'll screw everything right down. And again, because these are tapping screws, as soon as you get to the end, you're going to know, because it's just going to stop. There we go. So there is our propeller joint, all set and ready to go. Very, very cool. I think this is a very cool design. So that's step 6. So we're going to move on to step 7 and attach the front propeller joint. So for step 7, attaching the front propeller joint, well, we grab our propeller joint and now we're going to house it inside of the front gearbox. So parts A6 and A7, and you can see how that's going to go. And of course there is our front gearbox housing, and then this piece that's going to attach over the propeller joint. And there's the 4 screws again, and we're going to be putting in a bearing as well. So I'll set this up and we'll put this together. So the first thing we'll do is let's actually get that bearing inside the gearbox here. So we just need to put that in, push, there we go, there's our bearing. So now that the bearing is in the gearbox, we need to put the propeller joint in. Now, what's interesting is the way that this picture is, it's actually showing this part. So if we turn this around, you can see that this is going to sit essentially just like that. So you can see in terms of the diagram. So it's sitting there like that, making sure that you've got the washer and the plastic part and everything in the correct spot. And then we take this piece here and we're going to put it over top. So you can see that since that's in place, that now is going to sit over top just like that. So we have the 4 screws again, and you can see it's coming from that side. So we're going to screw this one in. And again, it's sort of just temporary. I want to make sure that they're going in properly. And do that one. And we've got the other one. So based on the way that was going to be put in, we have that one coming in, whoops, from the bottom right there. And the other one is right there at the top. And again, this is hard plastic to hard plastic. Now I've got all the 4 screws in, so I'm going to actually start screwing this down all the way now. Just get the last one as close to the end as possible. Looks fine, so I'm going to screw this all the way down. Done. 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 And done. So you can see that for the front, they're actually having you put the propeller joint on first, versus how we did it with the rear, where we did built the gearbox, then put the propeller joint on. This time we're putting the propeller joint on before building the gearbox. So ultimately this is what it's going to look like when it's finished. Very cool. So that means that step 7 is complete. So we're now going to move on to step 8 and attach the front differential gear.